Hello everyone and welcome back to day 29 of the 100 Days of UI Design Challenge with Veera. This is going to be a fun, whimsical, special episode. It's going to have a lot of balloons in it. You have guessed it correctly. It's going to have a lot of fun elements to it. It is going to have animations, fonts, colors, and some more animations that I am so extremely proud of. You do not want to miss this episode. This is going to be a fun one. Without any further delay, let's just jump into the demo of what we have planned today. This is the UI we're going to be building today. It is a very simple carousel kind of slider. All of these background circles go around, jump around to their backgrounds, shift around, scale up, scale down. Check out these circles. They always shift and their size always changes and they're always going somewhere. There's a lot of motion. There is so much, literally so much happening all in one place. These cake images are popping out beautifully. The text is to die for. Check out the fonts on this one, and I'm being serious. Just look at the fonts. This is completely scrollable. You can just go down here, explore more options if you want to. And before you think we're done, we are also going to open it in our devices on our phone. I'm going to show you how you can use this prototype on your mobile phones. Just play around with it, have a lot of fun, see these background circles moving around. There's so much fun in that. These images pop out on their own. Check out this font, by the way. So cool. This is going to be one of the most fun UI designs we have ever done on this channel. Let's just get started. Alright, the very first thing you're going to do when you get started is search for Figma downloads. And I know I say this at every single episode, but for all of those of you who are watching, just joining right now, just go to Figma downloads, figma.com/downloads, download your desktop app for macOS or download it for Windows. The simplest thing you can do. Once you do that, you will be greeted with a screen that sort of looks like this. You'll be greeted with a screen that's just very plain. There'll be nothing at this space, but you can simply go and create a new design file from over here. This is going to give you your own very beautiful, very pretty UI design, which you can use, you can work with. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start by creating a frame. The way we create a frame is go to the frame button, click in the center of the screen, and choose a width and height. And the way we're going to choose the width and height is also very specific now. The reason being, for all of your mobile devices, you have a certain pixel viewport width and viewport height. Every single device, especially mobile ones and desktop ones as well, have a certain viewport width and viewport height. Now, since you're mirroring what you're doing there and using it as an application on your mobile device, it is quite convenient if we know what viewport of this mobile we're dealing with. When you go around and try web development, then you start to work with how to make things scale up and down, and there's responsiveness and all of that stuff. But for the most part, for this UI design, for the scope of this project, we're going to be making sure that we have the correct viewport width and height. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go back to Google or Firefox, whatever it is you use, and search for your device and search for its viewport width. Let's say you have an iPhone 15, and I know I do this all the time at this point. Just go and search for viewport ratio. This is going to give you this number. Never go to this 1000 pixel number. This is usually your resolution. Resolution is the thing that reflects on your actual... Ouch. That hit it pretty hard. My point is, the resolution is the actual size of things it can give to you with utmost clarity. Never bother with this 1000 by 2000 kind of resolution. You don't want to care about the resolution right now. Right now, all we care about is your viewport, and this viewport is the number you're going to find right over here. Always make sure the value is of viewport, not resolution. The resolution for your iPhone, if that is what you have, iPhone 15 that is, every single iPhone and every other mobile device out there has a different viewport ratio. You want to make sure what viewport ratio you have, just so that mirroring into this device becomes a whole lot easier. You're going to choose your viewport ratio, 393 by 852 in this case. For this specific design, this is not an iPhone. This device has a viewport ratio of 414 by 952 pixels. So I'm just going to put those values in, and then we can get started with all of the other data. And this is currently the Figma app, which is mirroring whatever I'm doing on my screen into my device, and I'm going to show you the actual magic that happens when you start to type 414 by 925 pixels of width and height inside of my screen. So I've created a frame that is this wide and this tall on the viewport ratio, and now when I click inside of the frame, sort of refresh it, hold on, I gotta refresh it, I basically have with myself this nice looking mobile UI which is covering complete lengths and heights, and I can even change this color just to show you guys what I'm talking about. I can change it to this red shade and it's going to change automatically. What this means is it's getting the full width and height. It's not scrollable, you can't scroll anything, which means there isn't any overflow going on. So we've figured out the perfect viewport width and height. You're going to have to do this for yourself. All right, once we have done that, we are going to bring our background color down to a color which we want, and now comes the most important part, the images and assets for this UI design are found in the Discord server. We have a Discord group joining link in the top of the description, as the first link in the description, that is, as well as the first link pinned in the live chat. Now all of these links you can find in the Discord group, in the live chat. Inside of the links of the Discord group you can find in the description or in the live chat. The Discord has a specific assets group where you can just find all of the assets that we've used for the 100 days of this challenge, the ones we've used previously, the ones we are currently using for the design, the ones we're about to use, and every other kind of graphics that you could use, you could find on this channel, you can find on the Discord group. Super duper helpful if you're a beginner in UI design, also if you're advanced as well. And there is also an additional functionality of, if you see some images on the internet, you're looking for assets or such, you can request for specific assets inside of the Discord group and we'll help you out there as well. So it's a great UI design community. Join there, you'll have a lot of fun, and all of your assets can be found there as well. So the way we're going to import our images now is we're going to click on Ctrl+Shift+K, and this lets you import your images. So we have 3 different images called ABC. We can just open them all at once or open them one by one. We'll just open them all at once. So for this stream, you have a folder called Day 42 given to you from the Discord group. I just downloaded those images from that folder. Just the simplest thing you can do. And the way I got these images is just, these are plain Unsplash images which I removed the backgrounds of. So I just took Unsplash images and removed the background using the Iconsate background remover. So you can just search for Iconsate background remover right here, choose an image in the plugins section. Always make sure it's the plugin section. Go and choose an image, search for Iconsate background remover, make sure to run it and click on this remove background button. My background is already removed, so I don't have to repeat it twice. Alright, and now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to choose our first image that we're going to be placing inside of this frame. So I'm just going to go ahead with this one. One of the best things about taking designs from our Discord community is you don't have to worry about resizing it a whole lot. So you won't have 2000 by 3000 kind of weird pixel ratios of images, and you don't have to scale them down, scale them up. You don't have to worry about pixelated images, blurry images, extremely big images that make your file size bloat a whole lot. You don't have to worry about any of those things. You get the exact size, compressed, best quality image for the average UI design that we're going to be building for this challenge. Alright, now I've placed my image, and the next thing I want to do now is basically, now I want to choose a background color which kind of matches the colors that we have going on over here. So I'm just going to go over here, go to the fill tab, choose this pink background color, and then just go around and search for a color that I really like. Alright, and once I've done that, I like this color. It works with the pink frosting on top of the cake as well. I like it. It just works with the whole theme. I'm not going to touch it anymore. Alright, and now that we've done that, we'll just start by adding background circles. This is where the whimsical magic starts to happen. Just go over here, click on the ellipse section, click on a circle, make sure to give it a fill color of white, and just reduce its opacity percentage. So we've just given it a percentage of 18. You can go down to 17, you can go down to 7. It really doesn't matter as long as you're happy with what you end up with. Alright, so we've taken our first circle. We're going to copy and paste it once again. We're going to get our second circle, copy and paste it once again, and then this is going to give us this beautiful flower kind of effect that we were going for. Group this whole thing together, and that gives you your very, very first circle overlay. Next, when you place it, copy, group it, place it again. So you're just going to take all of these images, click on shift and select multiple images at once, group them, and then move them around a whole lot. You're just going to take it to a different location, this whole group, after duplicating it, Control-C, Control-V that is, and rotate it. Alternatively, you can also click on flip horizontal or flip vertical. That is also going to rotate things automatically for you, but you can, for the most part, rotate it around a little bit. And just add as many images. Don't worry about it coming in front of the image right now. Just don't worry about any of those things. Just rotate it a whole lot. Make sure you've got a lot of these going on. Change the size. That is also a really important point. Change the size. This just gets so much more fun if you start to change the sizes. Just click on shift to always make sure things are always scaled evenly. Make sure the size is a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. That gives it a really cool morphing effect. Control-C, Control-V, and one last time we're just going to place it right here. Increase the size maybe just a little bit. Rotate it just so it looks a little bit different. Although there aren't many possibilities when you just have 3 circles and there's just only so much you can do with it. That's fine. Just make sure you've rotated things around a little bit. Alright, and next we're going to add our notification area. So for all of your mobile device, everything that's on a mobile, you always have this notification area at the top. This tells you the notification that are coming, the battery percentage, stuff like that. It's always wise to have some space already out for that, because if your UI designs don't leave out a space for the battery percentage, notification area, whatever it is, it's not practical. For all mobile designs, it is not practical, and B, it leads to clumpy design. So if I have something that's already here and then I also have battery percentages and stuff which my device is giving me, it is going to get ugly. I'm not going to be able to see my battery percentages. I'm not going to be able to see the data that I as a designer have put in. It is going to be one of your worst nightmares by far. And then again, I might make a video on all of us UI designers' worst nightmares at some point. Just take it around, make it, give it a little bit of thickness. Just make sure it has the full width of your screen and give it a little bit of height. Let's just go with 20. 20 is not a lot, 20 is not less. And you can choose any color for the notification bar if you like as a designer, because even when you're handed off these designs, when you're handing these designs off to a developer, the developer can have some control over choosing the color of the notification bar for app designs and such. So you can choose very, very freely what color your notification bar actually has. Alright, next we are going to add a very, very beautiful, very, very subtle call to action button. There is not going to be a lot of text in it, nothing too fancy going on in it, but it is going to give you the option to explore more about our text. We'll get to that. Alright, and we're back. So the reason we are doing a call to action button without adding any text at all just after this notification bar is because we want to keep things that are designed similarly together. So we just want to clump the parts of design together which have similar designs. So we've just copied that exact same rectangle. No need to add so much styling. Just make sure the height here is 55. Maybe give it 55 height and just decrease the opacity of white. Now you can take it up to 55. That works perfectly. And now look at it very, very carefully. At this point, this is where we're going to start adding special things. So I'll just move my camera around, and we have done that. So we just removed the opacity and placed it. We'll just remove this. We've changed the opacity of the color white here to 55%. Next, we are going to add a very, very special effect. Make sure to look at it really, really carefully. This is what makes or breaks your design. We're going to click on layer blur. Background blur. This is going to blur everything that's in the background, and we're going to give it a huge, you know what, let's just make this even more visible, and then this should work pretty well. This is what is usually called in UI design glass morphism effect. So we're finally doing glass morphism in UI design with this UI design. We might have a complete glass morphism effect coming up as well, but the fact that we have glass morphism in this UI is so cool. This was the surprise that I was just waiting to tell you up until this point, and now we have achieved it. So the basic gist of glass morphism effect is you want to have something that's white, reduce its opacity, which means it's quite see-through, and then you want to make the background of the object blur. So for example, if I wanted to give this screen glass morphism effect, I would reduce its opacity, which means I would make it see-through, translucent, and then I would make everything that's behind it blur, and that can be achieved by the background blur feature in Figma. This is going to, as you can see now, this is going to make the things look really weird and blurry that would otherwise appear sort of normal. Alright, rather than adding any text here to go down and scroll, we are going to add an icon. The simplest way to make icons without messing too much with the pen tool and stuff is you're going to go here and you're going to search for the Iconify plugin in Figma. One of the simplest things you can do. You can also search for it over here if you've never done that before. Type Iconify and you will find this smiley icon with the Iconify plugin. You can look at how to do everything with the Iconify plugin, every single capability of the Iconify plugin with the video on plugins that we have. It's the very, very first plugin that we talk about, Iconify plugin, and it's basically a complete Iconify plugin crash course. Links are in the description. This is the second link in the description that I'm talking about. Iconify plugin in Figma, very, very simple. You're going to click for downward arrow, and you're going to get this really, really cool simple download arrow. This is by Eva Icons. The license is MIT. Always make sure to look at the licenses. MIT and Apache licenses are always so great as a developer, as a designer. They're very, very free. You don't have to worry about too much. You can look into those if you want to. Go type MIT or Apache licenses at Google. They're quite similar by design. Very, very few differences. Very, very liberal in allowing us to use them as designers, as developers. I love it. Import this icon. Close this Iconify plugin, make this a little bit bigger, and always make sure when these icons are imported, they're mostly vectors, which means they're sort of made by the pen tool and can be moved around by the pen tool a lot. Whenever you're using a vector, never directly put it in your main frame. Otherwise, when you start to scroll, and I've done this in one of the other UI design videos as well, when you start to scroll, it starts to go really, really badly. It becomes your worst nightmare. I'm going to demonstrate that. Let's just take this vector. This vector frame is placed outside of the main frame that we're using this in, and we just place this inside of our frame, the mobile frame, without any other protection, and we just sort of start to drag it a little bit. So when you just start to drag it, and this dragging is done so that you can allow scrolling on the screen, this vector not only never stays in the location which you wanted it to be in, but it also stretches to become this weird, wonky, terrible shape. No one wants to see that. Always, whenever you're importing a vector like an icon, always make sure to keep it inside of the frame that they've given you. So always make sure, and I used to do this mistake a lot, which is why I'm so very careful of never repeating it again. Always make sure you drag the whole frame. Even if it looks dirty, I don't care. You can rename the frame. Never take it out of its frame. Never do that. It's just going to mess up at the wrong moment, and it's really going to be an embarrassing affair at some point. Alright, and next we're just going to place this right here. Change the color to white. Maybe if you're feeling funny, you can add a effect of a drop shadow, but for the most part, and you can add a drop shadow, it's going to give you a little bit of some difference. oops, we've applied the drop shadow to the wrong thing. So you want to place it always inside of its frame, but if you want to apply a drop shadow, you want to apply it to the vector itself. If you apply it to this, then it's going to give the box a drop shadow, the frame box. You don't want that. You want any drop shadows, any shadows that you apply to this vector, you're going to try it. I don't like it personally. I'm just not using it. You can use it. You can change around the colors a little bit. Use it. Up to you. Again, this is glass morphism at its complete finest, smoothest. This is glass morphism in real life UIs. So you see all of these fancy designs on the internet about glass morphism. Never ever ever do you have any actual website that works like this. But this is an example of where a simple micro interaction uses glass morphism to enhance the user experience by 1000%. You don't even know it happened. User doesn't even know it happened. But this is where the stylish fancy UI actually starts to become useful. And this does answer the big question that we face so many times as UI designers. If this is a fancy design, no one is going to use it. That's very, very wrong. You use the simple subtle effects in micro interactions. Always, always, always. Also, by the way, if you're thinking about looking at micro interactions in any way, shape or form, the 10 tips for UI designers video is out, and I think the first tip there is micro interactions. It's the most in-depth thing on micro interactions ever. Just go and click on it, check on it. It's probably the third link in the description. If it isn't, go to Google, search for micro interactions Veera Srivastava. You're going to find the 10 tips video, or just search for 10 tips for UI designers by Veera Srivastava, and that is going to be the simplest micro interactions definition you're ever going to find. Very, very useful, highly recommended. Now we're going to jump back to the final step. Go to the text box, create a text box. Really, really simply, we're going to give it a simple title, Oreo, and you can just copy this title at this point. Bubble. I didn't even bother to create a text file for this one this time, because you can just copy these 4 words or just put any words you like. Just wrote this down for myself. Oreo Bubble Delight Cake. Alright, now we've just placed this text. The font that we're using is really, really fancy. I love this font. It's called OI. I don't know if they pronounce it like OI or speechless. I don't know. Just OI. And we're going to change the font size now. Since this is the only piece of font, there isn't even much description here. So the original plan was to have all sorts of description go after this beautiful glass morphism main button. So we'll just basically take OI over here, increase the font size, make it bigger, get it to about 64. We can go with 64 if you want. We can go with 48 if you want as well. I'm just going to try it with 64, although I highly doubt if it's ever going to fit. Whatever size we choose, this line proportion is so wrong. So you just want to adjust the line height right now. I want to see if this works as well. No, this is actually going to be completely useless and out of control. Just make sure this is set to 0. Don't mess around with it. This top line is going to be enough to change your line height, and it's going to take a while before your shifting starts to work, but it will, and it will give you beautiful results. Just leave it at 115%. Alright, now we're just going to start styling this text really quickly. Change the color of the font to white. Make sure it pops right there. Make the font even smaller. 48 might work. Again, I'm willing to try 50 something as well. 48, 56, 64 are just such common values, and there's absolutely no reason for using them right now. Just common values that you just end up using, and it just becomes this whole thing. You can have your own favorite numbers too. I and most other designers just sort of found this and decided to use it. These are nice breakpoints though. Just center align everything. Don't worry about doing it manually. Click on this button. We'll just give this X. Oops, what did I just do? Alright, now we've taken care of that. We'll just make sure to send this to the back. you know what, let's not do that in such a hurry. We have one thing left to do. Of course, we have to bring it to the front first, and I think that just and all we have to do now is make sure this text is behind this image, not behind these circles, and that's just completely it in the layering and positioning side of things. We'll just give this a stroke, give it outside, and you can try to see what would happen if you gave it a stroke inside, but I don't think it would lead to good consequences, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that in just a moment. So for example, for most fonts, if you put it inside, it looks like a weird horror show, and center is just 50% inside, 50% is outside. Outside looks much refined, much better in terms of the colors. We're just going to take this color, the background color, you can just use this tool to get them, and then go to a darker shade. That's it, nothing complicated here. Just go to a darker shade, shift by a couple of pixels to the right, and that's going to give you one darker shade. Now you're going to add another special effect, a drop shadow. This drop shadow is going to have zero blur. This is where things become interesting. Zero blur, 2 pixels of you know what, let's just make it 4 pixels of x-axis, 4 pixels of y-axis. Change our color to have 100% opacity, give it the darker shade of pink from this palette right here, and then bring it down by a couple of pixels, and then that is going to give you this beautiful shadow kind of color. You can just play around with it just until you find something that you like. I think this looks good. Let's just leave it at that. You can spend a couple of hours trying to search for the perfect color, and you will find it. It's just going to be a little more time taking. Alright, this looks good. This looks good enough. This looks good enough for me. Next, we are just going to duplicate these. Let's just remove these images out of the way so the whole duplication process doesn't become weird. We'll just place them above. Copy our first frame. Place it here. We're going to start by changing this image. Click on this image, choose this image, and we are going to click on the A button. This is the A image. This is going to change our first image to the exact same size. You don't have to worry about cropping and resizing anything at all. Change the name of this as well. Just a simple name, Easter Blue. You can just copy this text or just type it along yourself. Alright, this looks good. Make sure the cake is cut off a little bit. That gives it a really cool effect. Now we're going to change the background color. This background color has to be inspired by, or at least similar to, the colors right here in this image. This image looks quite fluorescent. You can just, if you're not happy with how fluorescent it is, you can change the contrast sort of just to make it a little bit darker. I'm not going to get into that a lot, but you can choose to make this image darker if you choose to. I'm not doing that, just for this time's sake. But you have all these options to make the color have a lot more color, be dimmer, be duller. That's always present to you. Also, blending modes for images are pretty sweet. So blending modes, and this panel is absolute magic. You can change the color of things, make it pink. This seems pink now. This hard light actually makes it seem pink. Exclusion is quite scary, if I'm being honest. These look like haunted bunnies with the difference filter. Hue, saturation, and color will also do their own magic, but we're just going to place it at normal for now. Alright, and now we're just going to, without doing anything at all, I just showed you that this was possible. I'm not doing any of it. Without changing anything at all, we'll change this color. Get this from the color picker right here. I think we're going to go really dark on this one with a shade of blue, because already it's so light that everything is just going to fade away at this point. I have a shade in mind that I used for a really long time. This is 00D, 0DD. This is a starting point, something we can work off of. This is not the final shade in any shape or form. I think this is going to take us a longer time to figure out. You know what, we could also try purple. This has some purple sprinkles, but then any shade of purple just starts looking weird. I don't want to take that risk at this point. Let's just stick with green, blue green, sea green, whatever this is. Good lord, this is so fluorescent. Did you all notice how fluorescent it is? It is crazy fluorescent. You might want to tone down on the fluorescence a little bit. I don't know if it's my screen or if it's actually extremely fluorescent. I might end up changing the contrast for this guy. It's so damn fluorescent you can't find anything for it. Just change the color. Bring it to the left. Just change the color until you find a good enough match. You know what, we could just go a little bit blue from here, and this works completely fine. You can choose a little more, take a little more time to change your colors, adjust things around a little bit, but for me 42CD works perfectly well. Again, you could go in the 2 series as well. 2 series is going to be quite nice, but for me 42CD is good. We'll stick with 42CD. Now we're going to go to our stroke color and go back to our color picker tool. Choose this color once again. Take it to its right hand side up until we hit a point where we're happy with things. And next we're going to go to our drop shadow. Choose its drop shadow color. Take the darker color from the color picker and then go down from there. Go south. So for the stroke you want to go towards the right hand side of the main color, whichever you have chosen for the background. For the drop shadow you're going to go south of the color that you've chosen for the stroke. Just go right here. This looks good. We could go a little bit lighter. That could make things a little more shadowy. This works perfectly well. OOC2C2 00C2C2. Don't put OO. These are hexadecimal values. They only go from 0 to F. Okay, this looks perfectly fine. You could change this color. This might take a little more time. I'm not going to do that. Let's just stick to what we have here. And one final step that we've just completely I forgot to take care of is you always want to shift these guys around a little bit. Add some motion. Make this smaller, and when you do this, when you practically sort of use your hands and move things around a little bit, make them rotate a whole lot, this is when actual animation is going to hit the picture. This is when things start to get so interesting. We'll just rotate this around a little bit. Bring it right here, make it bigger. This again gives it such a beautiful shade. Make it smaller. What a beautiful. No sticky keys. I don't want any sticky keys whatsoever. This does look good. This does finally look good. Alright. We'll just take this guy right here. You know what? Let's just lock it for the time being. Otherwise, it's going to interrupt with all of our other images by quantities that are huge. Alright, and now our next goal has to be moving around all of these circle groups, just so that everything is in a different position. Just shift things around at a very basic level. Just change basic locations of things. This doesn't have to be the most complicated thing. It just has to have some differences of position. And while that's done, I'm just going to copy it and just copy the frame and paste it one more time. Let's just copy it and paste. Now we'll select our frame, copy and paste it. Now that we have a third frame, we're going to go directly to our image. Click on this image fill, choose image and change our next image. We'll go back to our downloads folder. This is where you're going to find all of your images. This has been taken from the Discord group. The link is in the description. Alright, and now we're going to change the background color according to the color of the cake that we have just imported. Let's just take a color. Nope. We're going to take the fill color and change it according to the color of the cake. Let's just bring this down to this color and then we can change the color of the text. Let's just get this exact same color, bring it a little bit towards the right, and then that's going to give us our stroke color. And then we can also go to the shadow. Go to the text. You won't see the shadow in the selected colors. It's going to be in the drop shadow section. And then take your darker red, drag it towards the south, make it darker. Just select it and drag, make it darker, and then that's going to give you the color that we are going to be using for the shadow of this UI. Alright, now we have all of our screens almost done. We just have to move these circles around a whole lot. So we'll just We'll just take this circle group, move it around to a different location altogether. Take another circle group, move it to a completely different location again, and just change their positions, change their sizes, change their rotations. This does not have to be specific at all. You can just place any of these at any place you want. So we'll just move the locations around a little bit. Just take it and move it right here. Take this big guy, make it smaller, move it up to the top. All right, and now we finally, let's just make this a little bit smaller. Now that we have all of our screens completely done, we're going to start animating this. So we'll just, before we start animating anything, we'll just remove these images because they're not important at this point. We can just work without them. We want to have a beautiful pop-out animation. To make pop-out animations work at its very basic, at a very basic level, you're just going to copy all the images other than the image where you want to have the pop-out animation. So if I want to have a pop-out animation in the pink image, I'm going to take my blue and red images, make them smaller, place them right here inside of this frame. Take my other image as well, go inside it entirely, make sure both of them are in the same exact position, and place them behind my current image. So I'm just going to send them to the back, and now I'm just going to repeat this for all of my other images. Again, I'm going to take the other two images, make them smaller, just around the same shape and size. To select multiple things at once, you're going to click shift, and to scale them equally also, you're going to click on shift. So shift is going to be your friend for this whole UI design. You're going to take both of these and right click and send them to the back. And again, we'll just take the pink and the red cake, copy and paste them. Shift key lets you select multiple things at once. Shift key also lets you scale multiple things with a very equal size, so that the size, width and height does not stretch from any angle. Just make sure to send it to the back. Send it to the back. The exact position does not matter. It has to be a rough match. Send it to the back again. And this gives us a really basic skeleton of how the pop-out animation is going to work. So now we'll just take our first frame, click on prototype, click on the first interaction, add a click interaction. That has to go to navigate to, and then we're going to go to navigate to frame 2. Then we're going to click on smart animate and gentle. This is going to very gently animate, and we're going to keep our timing 800 milliseconds, which is exactly the same. Now we'll repeat this for the exact same other frames as well. We'll make sure to link our last screen to the first one. People always forget it and it causes a ton of trouble. Now we're going to go back directly. Before we go back, let's just rename all of our images, because renaming images is what makes sure Smart Animate understands that the pink image here and the pink image in the other frame are the same pink images. So when you shift your screen from this one to this one, this image needs to pop out now. So we'll just rename this to pink. I'm just renaming them according to the color. You are free to do whatever you want. It's really not the biggest deal. We'll just bring it to the front just to check. Send it to the back again, rename it to pink, and now every single frame has an image that is pink. So we'll just bring it to the front just to check, and then we can send it to the back again, or just click on Ctrl Z and that's also going to do the same job. Double tap to rename the whole thing. We'll rename this blue, and now we'll rename the top one red. Again, we'll rename this first image blue, and the image which is not pink red. Blue. No, sorry, red. And we'll just repeat it over and over again. So we'll just bring this image to the front just to check what we're dealing with, because right now all of them are renamed to B2, so we really don't know. We just bring it to the front. This seems to be the red image, so we'll just double tap on it, type red, and then we'll go to blue and double tap on that as well and type blue. This is going to give us this really nice pop-out animation. We'll just go to the prototype section, and now we're going to start to prototype the whole thing and take a look at what it looks like. Alright, now this is where the magic actually starts to come together. Check this out, you guys. This is popping out. All of our circles are going up wherever they need to. They're scaling, they're resizing. Everything works so perfectly. We are 100% done with day 42 of the 100 Days of UI Design Challenge. This is so amazing. And now, as planned, I'm going to show you how you can use this UI design in your mobiles as well. So while we bring out our mobiles, I'm just going to rename this cherry. Just forgot about it. Just rename it to whatever you want. Cherry Blossom Delight Cake. And I don't even know what I'm typing here at this point. You can just type whatever you want. Alright. Now that we've renamed all of our screens, I'm going to get my phone and we're going to take a look at how you can use these screens as an application, as a real world prototype in your real mobile. Alright, so the way we're going is we are going to go to your Play Store or App Store, whichever it is that you're using, depending on Apple or Android, and then basically go and search for Figma. Figma, and then that's going to give you the prototype and mirror share app, and you're going to install it. It's going to take a little while, but it is so absolutely worth it, completely worth it, 100% worth it. And once this is done installing, you are going to click on open, and now it's going to ask you to log in. I'm just going to log in right here, and then this is going to directly redirect me to my login. I'm going to continue with my mobile app. And now, because I have selected a specific frame on my desktop monitor, it is going to give me the option of frame 1 selected, click to mirror. So I'm just going to click, and it's directly going to mirror the actual UI that I'm using right now. Wait for it. 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the beautiful UI we were talking about. It has all of these circles, all of these colors. Check out the detailing in the font. Like, I'm pretty sure it's visible with the camera. Check out the level of detail that's there everywhere. This is the reason we check the viewport width and height. It completely matches. There's a notification bar. There's a beautiful background color. There are these beautiful accent circles that move around with each animation. Every single cake image pops out perfectly. This is one of the most amazing app UIs we've ever done on this channel. So fun. You can take this around, show it to your friends, show it to your family, show it to whoever you want to show it to, employers, friends, colleagues, anyone. Absolutely, this is your walking talking portfolio that you just take with you everywhere, because every single one of your prototypes can be mirrored this way. It's one of the best ways to present your real UIs to a client, show it to someone who can actually use it, figure out what they like, what they don't like. There is the beautiful glass morphism effect as a micro interaction in this button right here. The surface behind it does have glass morphism, and if you take a notice of this really carefully, you're going